Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into cannabis or marijuana. Forget the usual chatter for a moment. We've looked at a solid set of sources to map out, its actual effects, physical, mental, social. It's surprisingly complex stuff.
It really is. And what's great about this research is how it separates the immediate effects from what happens down the line long term. It gives you the whole picture, basically. The risks, sure, but even some potential upsides. We want to walk you through all that.
Okay, let's jump right in. Physical health first. What happens right away? And then what are those longer term worries people should know about?
Well, short term, the science points to a faster heart rate, higher blood pressure, and that impaired motor coordination. That's a big factor in accidents, obviously.
Right.
You also get the classic thing, dry mouth, bloodshot eyes, milder stuff. But interestingly, the sources also mention acute benefits, like THC reducing nausea.
Oh, yeah, for medical use.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why it helps chemotherapy patients, helps with appetite, too.
Okay, so those are the immediate things. But consistent use, that's where it gets, pretty serious, doesn't it?
It does. If you smoke it regularly, you're looking at chronic respiratory issues. Think chronic bronchitis, persistent cough, wheezing, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to tobacco use, really.
Mm-hmm. And cancer risk?
There's concern there, potential links to lung cancer and others, but it's often tangled up with, other lifestyle factors, so pinning down direct cause is tricky.
I see.
Cardiovascular risks, too, with heavy use, higher chances of stroke, heart attacks, especially if you already have heart issues. And then there's this specific thing, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, CHS.
Oh, what's that?
It's pretty severe nausea and vomiting in really heavy long-term users. Kind of ironic, given the anti-nausea use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus used during pregnancy, linked to lower birth weight.
Wow, okay, so that's the body. What about the brain? What are the mental impacts, short and long term?
Short term, okay, you get the euphoria, the high. But alongside that comes impaired short-term memory, trouble focusing, poor judgment. And sometimes anxiety, paranoia, even brief hallucinations with really strong doses.
And if that use continues, what are the more lasting changes we see?
Well, studies link frequent use, especially starting young, like in adolescence, to lasting problems with memory, learning, attention. There's even evidence of a measurable drop in IQ for those who start young and use heavily.
Really? IQ?
Yeah. And then the connection to mental health disorders. Anxiety and depression show an association. Though it's complicated, using it to cope can actually make things worse.
Right, a vicious cycle kind of thing.
Exactly. And psychosis or schizophrenia. Cannabis doesn't usually cause it out of nowhere, but it can trigger episodes in people who are vulnerable. It might even speed up the onset if someone's predisposed, particularly young guys with a family history. High THC doses can definitely induce short-term psychosis.
And addiction, is that a major concern?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Cannabis use disorder, CUD. About 1 in 3 people who use cannabis might develop it. Risk goes way up if you start young or use daily.
What does that look like?
Difficulty cutting down, strong cravings, withdrawal symptoms like irritability, sleep problems. And it can lead to neglecting work, school, relationships.
Okay, so physical, mental. What about the social ripple effects? How does it impact life beyond our own health?
Well, immediately, impaired driving is a huge one. Slowed reactions, distorted perception, dangerous combination. Also, just poor decision-making in social settings, maybe more risk-taking.
And looking bigger picture, long-term social consequences.
Chronic, heavy use, especially starting as a teen, is linked to lower grades, higher dropout rates, and later, fewer job opportunities, lower income.
The amotivational syndrome idea.
Yeah, that's part of the discussion. Reduced drive, maybe apathy, though, again, it's complex cause or just correlation. Hard to say definitively. Relationships can suffer too. People might withdraw. And then there are the indirect things, like legal trouble where it's illegal, or failing drug tests for jobs, even where it's legal.
We've covered a lot of risks, but the sources do acknowledge potential benefits, right? To be balanced.
Oh, absolutely. We touched on medical uses, THC for chronic pain, nausea. CBD, another component, shows promise for epilepsy, maybe anxiety. And plenty of users report, short-term positives like relaxation, stress relief, help with sleep.
But those benefits don't just cancel out the risks we've laid out.
No, they don't. The scientific consensus is pretty clear. Frequent use, early use, carries significant risks. Physical, mental, social. Health authorities stress weighing any benefit against these harms. And for recreational use, there really aren't proven health benefits to balance the risks.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening? This dive really shows cannabis isn't harmless, maybe less dangerous in some ways than other drugs. Like a fatal overdose is basically impossible, but it definitely has real risks, short-term, long-term, body, mind, life.
Exactly. The effects are widespread. And understanding these risks is just crucial, especially for, teenagers, pregnant women, people with existing health issues.
Research is ongoing, always refining things, but the evidence we have now is pretty stark. Cannabis use has complex, real consequences. So knowing all this balance of effects, the clear risks for certain groups, how does that shift your perspective on the ongoing debates around legalization, rules, and how we educate the public about cannabis?